Hi guys! In this lesson, we're going to talk about the parts of speech in English. English has 8 different types of words. You have nouns, which could be a person, place, or things. Things like Sam, dog, table, happiness are all nouns. You also have pronouns that we use to replace nouns. So instead of saying Kendra, I can say I. I am happy to see you. You, he, she, it. We have verbs that state actions or states of being, things like to be, to feel, to go. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. Things like blue. The sky is blue. Blue describes what type of sky we have. I am happy. Happy describes how I'm feeling. It's a type of adjective that describes me. Adverbs are words that are used to describe other verbs or to describe adjectives and even other adverbs. So you have adjectives that are to help describe nouns better and adverbs that are used to describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs better. Prepositions are those small words that help you see where things are in relation to other things. So you'll know if something's up, down, across, beside something else. Conjunctions are those words that connect your sentences together, like and, but, however, and or. And interjections are those fun words that we throw in there like wow, great, amazing. Just little one-word things that describe our emotions and help us show how excited we are. So it's important to use the correct form of these words. And it's most important in these 4 categories: noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. There are many words that fall into all 4 categories, and so there's some words that will have 4 different versions of itself. Words like regret, a regret, to regret, regretful, and regretfully. Notice the different spellings and notice the different endings depending on how the word changes. We also have the noun sadness. To sadden, the adjective form is sad, and adverb sadly. If you notice, usually all adverbs end in that ly ending. Not all of these words move smoothly through the 4 different categories. Not all of these words have a verb form, for example. In this situation, we have logic, to be logical, logical, and logically. So in this case, there is no verb form. We would just use the adjective form with to be. We also have the benefit, to benefit, beneficial, beneficially. The advantage, a different variation of this, to take advantage. Advantageous, advantageously. Responsibility, to be responsible, responsible and responsibly. The progression, to progress, progressive, and progressively. The most common mistake English learners make is using the wrong version of the word in their sentences. So usually they use the noun form instead of using the adjective form of the word when it's more appropriate. I've seen this when I'm looking at their papers. They'll say it's more advantage to use paper instead of plastic. And the correct answer would be it's more advantageous to use paper instead of plastic. The adjective form would be the correct word, because usually after the verb be is going to be an adjective. So I can say, I am happy, it is beneficial, it is advantageous. But now, let's try to practice this with different words. First word we'll use is progression. Progression means to advance and to move forward. So you have different versions of this word. An example of the noun form would be the progression of the story. An example of the verb form could be to progress in your career. An example of the adjective form is progressive changes. And an example of the adverb form is progressively better. Better is an adjective, so progressively is describing the adjective better. So now that we reviewed that, let's do a little quiz to see how good you are at fluidly changing the different forms of the word depending on what part of speech it is in the sentence. So the first one, please take the medication to avoid the blank effect of the illness. Should it be progression, progress, progressive, or progressively? Answer it for me. It would be the adjective form. Please take the medication to avoid the progressive effect of the illness. So you would know to use the adjective form because the noun is effect, the effect. So you want to put a descriptive word before the noun. Next one. Please take the medication to avoid the of the illness. Would it be progression, progress, progressive, or progressively? That would be the noun form. Please take the medication to avoid the progression of the illness. We know this because there's a the there. Usually there's going to be a noun following the or a. And there's no adjective, so we can assume that it's going to be just a noun there. Great. Next line. Please take the medication to avoid getting worse. Would it be progression, progress, progressive, progressively? This would be the adverb form. Words like better, worse are adjectives. Please take the medication to avoid getting progressively worse. Please take the medication so your illness will not. Progression, progress, progressive, progressively. That would be the verb form. You have will not, so you would want to have a verb afterward. Will not progress. Please take the medication so your illness will not progress. Great. So now let's try a different word. Accumulation is the act of slowly collecting things to continue to grow over time and to get bigger over time. An example of the noun form is the accumulation of junk. Junk is just stuff that is not very useful. Things like little objects that you bought because it was pretty or interesting at the time, but you never use it. And it just takes up space and you really should get rid of it, but you don't. That's what junk is. So the accumulation of junk. The verb form is to accumulate wealth. An example of the adjective form. the accumulative effect of the changes. And the adverb form changes a little bit. In order to pronounce it easier, they drop the AC and they just use the cumulatively. So cumulatively calculated scores. So now let's use this word in the same exercise and see how we do. The blank of wealth is a lifelong goal of most people. Accumulation, accumulate, accumulative, cumulatively. The accumulation of wealth is a lifelong goal of most people. Next one, decades of blank growth of stock investments is the key to building wealth. Accumulation, accumulate, accumulative, cumulatively. This would be the adjective form. Decades of accumulative wealth of stock investments is the key to building wealth. With decades of discipline, he was able to blank millions of dollars. Accumulation, accumulate, accumulative, cumulatively. This would be the verb form. And here, to is a dead giveaway that a verb should follow. But with decades of discipline, he was able to accumulate millions of dollars. Your savings is increasing blank every year. Accumulation, accumulate, accumulative, cumulatively. This would be the adverb form, cumulatively, because it is describing this verb of increasing. Your savings is increasing cumulatively every year. Great! So in our future lessons, I'll show you the root of the word and its many different variations. I find it's easier to learn all the variations together. So it's like you learn 4 words for the price of 1. They all have the same meanings, it's just that they're used in different parts of this sentence. And each lesson, I'll show you how to use each of the variations correctly. Using these different words fluently is the key to becoming fluent in English. So when we do our vocabulary reviews, make sure that when I prompt you, that you stop the video and practice using these words out loud. So you can practice using the noun form, verb form, adjective form, and adverb form as well. You can review some of the vocabulary below, and there's also a quiz. As always though, happy practicing until next time. Bye guys!